Hey, this is Classy-Yøm and I'm here again with another video. Today I'm going to be going further into my language schedule by discussing the type of resources that I use to practice for each day. In the previous video, which was yesterday, you saw one of the resources that I use, such as writing a conversation list. I hope that video was able to give you guys some ideas on how to set your conversation list up so that way you can start practicing and memorizing it in order to have a conversation with a native speaker. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so as you can see for Monday, I have alphabets and vowels, memorized conversations, textbooks, grammar and dialogue, and listen to music, no English subtitles. For number 1, alphabets and vowels, the reason for that is when you're first starting the language, it's very important that you understand how the words sound and how they're pronounced. You just don't want to jump into it by practicing the words along with a person, but you also want to make sure you actually know how it sounds, so that way when you're making sentences or saying a word, you're able to correct yourself and say it the correct way. And I'm going to show you the resource that I use for that, which is here. I have a playlist, Spanish. I'm going to go to this one, which you see is already on. And you see at the top I have Spanish alphabet and pronunciation practice. In this video, it covers both the alphabets and also the vowel sound. So when you're practicing the language, you can get them both in at the same time. I would definitely recommend that you find a video that deals with both the alphabets and the vowels, so that way you can practice them both at the same time and you can hear how they sound. Another thing that I want to point out, if you look to your left over here, when you're first starting out, if you're learning 1 or 2 languages, I would suggest that you create separate playlists of the languages, so that way you can know which language you're practicing, what resources you can access, so that way things won't get too complicated and won't become complex. So let's go back to the document. Okay, memorize conversations. Okay, so in the first video I showed you my conversation list, which was different sentences I used to memorize in order to speak to native speakers. I'm going to show you the app I used to gather those questions that you saw, like what's your name, how are you. I'm going to show you the app that I use in a few minutes. But when you're starting out, memorize conversation, I'll suggest that you create a list of 10 or 12 sentences that you would like to ask someone. If you look at my video, you can see the type of sentences that I would expect someone to ask me and that I would expect to ask someone. So just create something simple like that, like what's your name, how are you, how is everything, not how is everything, but what are you studying, are you a student, stuff like that. And you're going to spend time memorizing those sentences, so that way you start actually learning language at the first begin, where you're able to have a basic sentences in your vocabulary. Textbooks, grammar, and dialogue. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to show you actually Google Drive, custom office templates. And you guys see I have something called textbooks and vocab. I created a folder to separate the various grammar books and textbooks that I have, so they won't get confused with all my other personal documents and all that. So I want you guys to create also a file to separate it. Okay, as you can see, you got Spanish, Korean, Italiano, Hebrew, German, French, Dutch, Creole, and Chinese. Okay, so I'm going to go through the first one. Let's go to Creole grammar. Okay, so as you can see, this is a textbook that deals with Creole grammar. It shows you how to pronounce it. I found this online, so if you search online for grammar or textbook in the particular language that you're practicing, then you'll find a resource that will pop up and it'll present you with information that you can use to start practicing. So basically the grammar textbook just gives you a basic understanding of the grammar being used in Creole. It gives you pronunciation of the vowels and alphabet. So even though you find the alphabets and vowels on YouTube just to see how it sounds, you can also practice it on the textbook. So that's also very helpful. Okay, so next is listen to music, no English subtitles. Let's go back to YouTube. Listen to music with no English subtitles. Let's go to Dutch music. Okay, one thing I would recommend is that when listening to music that you don't use no English subtitles. You want to get a head on listen to it first. You want to immerse yourself in language. You want to know how it sounds. So it's best that you don't try to use your own language to first learn it. Just let the music play in its own natural language and just become familiar with it. And if you want, you can sing along to it as well, because it'll also help you. I mean, you may get the words wrong when you first start singing, but that's all part of the process and it's okay. As long as that the next time you come back and sing, that you're correcting yourself every time. So that way you get better and better. Okay, so let's go to Tuesday. Numbers, memorize conversations, vocabulary apps, audiobooks, reading and listening. Okay, so for Tuesday, numbers. Numbers are very important. Because let's say if you used to go to different countries just to visit it and you want to buy something, at least understanding what numbers to use and you understand a basic concept of it, you'll be able to buy things without having to go through so much hassle. Memorize conversations. Like I said before, memorizing your conversation list is very important because it'll be your first way of speaking the language. So by memorizing that list, you'll be able to speak the language in no time. Vocabulary apps. So I have another document that I created for that. Here we are here. But let's go back 1 second. I'm going to cover both of those. I'm going to cover vocabulary apps and audiobook reading and listening. So let's go back to it. As you can see, I have all the language here so I know what I have to do. But here's some good resources that you can use. Ninjanese is good for Mandarin. It allows you to build your vocabulary. These sites are mostly for building your vocabulary, which is why I have vocabulary apps. So you have Ninjanese for Mandarin, Duolingo, which covers most of the languages, BlinkQ, learn101.org, and Pinterest. Now there's one thing I want to say about Pinterest. Pinterest is very resourceful. So let's say you want to find helpful tools for the language, let's say Italian. Learn Italian. You just type learn Italian. Let's see what pops up. Okay, so you see this right here. That's what I like about Pinterest, is that it gives you basic vocabulary words that you can start practicing. Okay, and now for chat and communication. Now I told you earlier that when you're first building a list of sentences or a conversation list to ask or to have a conversation with someone, you should first search how to say those things like what's your name, how are you, and if you can't find a translation on the internet, then I would suggest that you check out Hi Native or Hello Talk. Either one of these, Hi Native or Hello Talk. But I used Hi Native when I first started building my conversation list. It gave me a list of different words I could say, and if you type, like for example, if you type how do you say what is your name, you'll get a reply back from people saying this is how you say what is your name. Or if you want to say informal or formal, they'll show you both ways. So for writing your conversation list, definitely check out Hi Native because it will help you in building your conversation list. And for when you start communicating with people, which I'll discuss which will happen on Sunday, but these are good for when you start communicating with people. If you want to chat or just have a basic conversation with someone, then I would suggest you check these out. These sites right here, Audio Kitab, I would recommend these sites. You have Audio Kitab, which is an app, Para, LibreVox, RootledgeTextbooks.com, Impel Creole Audio, and Don Potter, which is Spanish. For audiobooks are very important because it helps build your reading and also your listening skills at the same time. So like let's say if you want to start out with Kazakh, you first listen to the audio, hear the person read the story or whatever it is, and then you later go back and you read it along with them, and then you go back again and then you try to read it by yourself. You may make a lot of mistakes, but it's important that you keep doing it and then you'll get used to it. And you don't have to go to different audiobooks. You can stay with that one audiobook until you actually memorize the audiobook and how the words should be sound. So that would be a good idea if you want to improve upon your listening and reading skills. So you can see all these sites offer great resources for audiobooks. Para mostly offer resources for Mandarin and Korean. LibreVox has most of the languages that you're looking for. And Rootledge Textbook is mostly like textbooks. Like it's like if you're learning the language, that's kind of textbook, a learning textbook. But it's still good because it's an audio textbook. And MPEL Creole audio, I couldn't find much information on Creole, or should I say much material for Creole, so I would recommend this site for audiobooks. And Don Potter, which this audiobook was for my Spanish grammar book because it had an audio go with it, so I just decided to make that part of the audiobook. Okay, and you see here it says radio and series, like TV series. So let's say you found a TV series that you really like. Then I would suggest that you spend 1 hour just watching the TV series so that we can hear how it sounds. And do not use English subtitles. Just listen to it as it is. So that way your ears are training themselves to understand it and recognize language whenever it hears. So let's say if you're walking down the street, you hear someone speaking a language, your ears will automatically pick them up because they become accustomed to it, and your brain has become accustomed to it too, so you'll be able to pick it up real quick. And if you're listening to music or if you're on the radio, then spend 1 hour. But for me, since I'm learning 11 languages, I have to spend 1 hour on each of those languages to make sure that I don't get confused or I'm not able to understand them. So it's just for me to fully grasp each of those languages. And for Wednesday, we have colors, memorize conversation, textbook, grammar, dialogue, listen to YouTuber. Okay, sometimes in movies or music, the language may sound different because the person is singing it in a different way, or in the movies, the person has to say it in that way. But to make sure that it's actually being said in the way it should be said, that's just you check out YouTubers, because YouTubers, they'll present to you the way it is. They won't try to change it so that way you can hear it. They'll speak like if you speak it to someone you just met. They'll speak in that sense, if that makes sense. Okay, and let's go back to the schedule. Okay, Thursday, which has time, memorize conversations, vocabulary PDFs, audiobook, reading and listening, which you already know. But time is very important. Let's say, for example, you're just sitting down and you want to say what time it is. Even if it's in your own language, you go to your time, you see what time it is. And you can just say the time in a different language, and it makes things simple. So while you're practicing language, every time you look at your time, you're able to say it in that language that you're practicing, and you're able to say it in your own language. So that way you go back and forth. Friday, repeats itself. Watch shows, no English subtitles, which I already give you some ideas in that. And calendar, you search on YouTube. How to say the calendar in Kazakh, how to say the calendar in Mandarin, how to say the calendar in Swahili, how to say the calendar in Creole, stuff like that. And for Saturdays, okay, Saturdays are the most important because you have tongue twisters and writing. And then you also have memorize conversation and vocabulary adds. But Saturdays are most important. Tongue twisters, I've read a lot that tongue twisters help build your, let's say you have an accent, you don't want to have if you speak English and people can hear your accent when you're speaking their language, but you want to somewhat like reduce your accent to make sure it's coming out clear to native speakers, then tongue twisters are the perfect tool to use, because you're just using tongue twisters to better get your language correct. And then writing, I would say, is very important. I mean, sometimes when you first start a language, you maybe have told that you shouldn't start writing in the early process, but I think writing is important in this sense that it allows you to memorize the words that you're learning. So when you're writing it, you're memorizing it. I mean, saying it is different, seeing it is different, but when you're writing it, you're learning. So in other words, this schedule helps you with your kinesthetic skills, your visual skills, your auditorial skills, stuff like that. So it allows you to master all the skills with the language, so that way it won't become difficult in the long run. Let's say you learn the language, the basics of the language, but you don't know how to write it, or you don't know how to say it correctly in the grammar sense. These resources helps you get the grammar correct early on, and also it helps you get your writing correct early on. And you don't have to do them every day. As you can see, my day changes up. I have different days when I do different days. The only thing that you see probably repeat is just the memorized conversations and the vocabulary, just those basic things, but it switches up every now and then. For Sunday, we have history and culture, chat or speak to native speakers, and explore other resources optionals. History and culture. When you're first learning the language, I think it's important that you learn more about the culture, especially if you're just learning the language early on. It's important that you start learning the cultural aspect of it, like the people, learn about their different holidays, their different beliefs. Basically, just learn everything there is to learn, that everything that's concerning that language. Don't leave nothing out, because if you meet like a local or a native speaker, you go to the country, you meet a local, or if you're talking to someone online, at least you'll be able to say that you have an understanding of their culture and history. I mean, actually go through their entire culture and history, as if you're going through your own culture and history, and you would want someone to know about your culture and history. So you have to actually go through it and learn about them, learn about their culture, learn about who they are, and become more, more immersed into the language. So that's very important. Chat or speak with a native speaker. When you first start out, you may not want to talk to this person the first time because you're nervous that you may sound messed up, or you may mess up or make mistakes. So if you want, you can first start chatting with them. But also, once you get comfortable chatting with the person, then I suggest you move on to speaking with them. So that way you're able to build your verbal and conversational skills, and you become more comfortable and confident in your speaking. I mean, you may make a lot of mistakes when you're speaking, but that's the most important thing is that you just keep going forward. Just keep learning from what people tell you to do. Like, take tips. Someone tell you that you're pronouncing it wrong, then just improve upon it. It's not gonna hurt you. You're just basically learning. Imagine yourself as someone who just discovered something new, and you're very interested in it, and you're willing to learn what it is to learn and make all the mistakes that you need in order to learn what you're trying to learn. So that's very important. And last but not least, explore other resources. So let's say you find some other cool resources that you'd like to explore, but you don't want to get messed up with your schedule. Well, this would be the good day to just go explore those resources, see if they're worth it or not. And you can just go through it. You can just use those resources, and you can create a list of those resources, so that way when Sunday comes, you can always go back and use those other resources that you found. So that's very important. Okay, so that is the end of my entire language schedule. I hope this video wasn't too long for you, and I hope you was able to get some ideas and some tips on what to do. I'll be making a video where for example, I'll be doing a video where I take one language such as Italian, and I'll go through it through each day. So I'll go through it Monday, I'll show you the resource I'm using. I'll go through it by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll show you the entire process, so that way you can see how I do it and how I practice, and so that way you can figure out how you want to set your schedule up and how you should practice. But also, if you want like tips on what movies or music to listen to, then I'll be making another video where I show you the various different artists of each of those languages that I listen to, movies that I have found interesting and funny, and entertainment that I watch, and also TV series. So if you're interested in watching TV series from that country, I'll recommend a few that I've watched. So you can look forward to that in a next video. But today was just get you immersed into the resources I use, so that way you can start going out finding your own resources, or you could just use this blueprint I have created and create your resources from here. I hope this video was very informative, and I hope you're able to start getting a go on your language and start getting started. So I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow morning. I'll probably be uploading this tonight, but I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, and thanks for joining me in this video. If you have any questions, you can leave me a comment below, and I'll get back and answer to them. But other than that, it was fun going through my language schedule, and I'll see you guys next time.